The SEAL commander looked at her through his binoculars and scoffed. One woman sniper against a dozen armed militants. She'll be dead in minutes. 5 minutes later, 12 enemy bodies lay silent in the forest, and he was staring at her in disbelief. Meet Staff Sergeant Lindsey Ghost Morgan, 26 years old, stunning beauty with long golden blonde hair, usually braided in tactical style. Piercing blue eyes that could track movement at 1,500 meters through dense forest canopy. Her flawless features, high cheekbones, porcelain skin, and a smile that could stop traffic, made her look more like a Hollywood actress than a deadly sniper. For 3 years, she had served as designated marksman for various special operations units. But to most SEAL commanders, she was still just the beautiful female sniper who got assigned to their missions by higher headquarters. Lindsey's background was unlike any other sniper in the military. Raised in the Colorado Rockies by her father, Sergeant Major Miguel Morgan, one of the Army's most decorated snipers. He had taught Lindsey that true marksmanship wasn't about perfect conditions on a shooting range. It was about making impossible shots when lives depended on a single bullet placed with surgical precision. "Princess," he would tell her as they tracked elk through snow-covered mountains, "anyone can hit a target when everything's perfect. A real sniper hits the target when everything's wrong. Bad weather, bad position, bad odds. That's when you find out what you're really made of." Miguel Morgan had survived 3 tours as a sniper in Iraq and Afghanistan, accumulating 94 confirmed kills. He had retired to raise his daughter in the Colorado wilderness, where he could pass on skills that the Army couldn't teach. Their cabin was 40 miles from the nearest neighbor. By age 12, Lindsey could track wounded animals through snow for miles. At 14, she was making consistent kills on elk at ranges exceeding 800 meters. At 16, she could survive alone in the wilderness for weeks. Lindsey had enlisted after graduating from Colorado State University with a degree in ballistics and engineering. Her military aptitude tests were off the charts. Her marksmanship scores broke records. During basic training, drill sergeants initially expected another pretty girl who would wash out. But when they saw her performance on the rifle range, consistently shooting perfect scores, they realized they were dealing with someone exceptional. Despite her qualifications, Lindsey faced constant skepticism from male commanders who couldn't separate her appearance from her capabilities. Commander Jackson Stone was the worst of them all. At 44 years old with 20 years of SEAL operations and 4 Bronze Stars, he commanded SEAL Team 7 with old-school attitudes. "Morgan is technically proficient," he would tell other officers, "but someone who looks like that belongs on magazine covers, not battlefields." That opportunity to prove herself came during Operation Dark Forest, a classified mission in the dense forests of eastern Afghanistan. Intelligence indicated that a high-value target was meeting with local commanders in a remote compound deep in enemy territory. Stone's plan was typically aggressive, a direct assault by his 8-man SEAL team, with Lindsey providing distant overwatch. "Morgan, you'll establish overwatch here." Stone pointed to a position 800 meters from the target compound. "Stay put, stay quiet, and only engage if someone tries to run. Leave the real fighting to us." Lindsey studied the terrain carefully. The position he had chosen wouldn't allow her to provide effective support if his team encountered serious resistance. "Sir, if I move to this ridge line here, I'd have better coverage of the entire approach route." Stone's expression hardened. "Morgan, I've been planning these operations since before you knew what a rifle was. You'll take the position I assign. This isn't a beauty contest where you get to improvise." The insertion went perfectly. Through her scope, Lindsey could see the compound clearly, but as she scanned the surrounding forest, she began noticing details that reconnaissance had missed. Enemy positions too well concealed to be seen from satellite imagery. Movement patterns suggesting a much larger security force. Defensive preparations indicating the enemy might be expecting company. Ghost, this is Stone. We're beginning our approach. Maintain overwatch and report any movement. Lindsey tracked Stone's team through her scope. 8 SEAL operators advancing confidently. But through her magnified optics, she could see what they couldn't. Enemy fighters positioning themselves for an ambush that would trap the entire SEAL team. Stone, this is Ghost. Multiple fighters taking defensive positions in the tree line, 50 meters north of your position. Ghost, maintain radio discipline. We don't see any immediate threats. Continue overwatch. Stone's team was walking into a carefully prepared ambush. She could see 12 enemy fighters maneuvering to surround the SEAL team, invisible from ground level. The forest erupted with automatic weapons fire from multiple directions. Contact! Contact! Stone's voice carried panic. We're taking fire from multiple positions. Where did they come from? Lindsey could see the entire tactical situation. Stone's team pinned down. 12 enemy fighters in perfect enveloping formation. The SEAL team was trapped. Stone, this is Ghost. I have visual on 12 enemy positions. I can eliminate the threat, but I need to relocate to effective firing position. Negative, Ghost. Maintain your position and wait for instructions. But Lindsey was already moving. Stone's stubbornness was going to get his team killed. She flowed through the undergrowth like a ghost, using natural concealment to approach enemy positions undetected. The position she chose gave her clear lines of sight to all 12 enemy positions while keeping her concealed. The first shot was the most important. Distance, 547 meters. Wind, variable, gusting through forest canopy. Target, the enemy commander coordinating the ambush. Lindsey controlled her breathing, crosshairs settling on center mass. The rifle fired. The commander dropped instantly. She was already acquiring her second target. A machine gunner pouring devastating fire into Stone's position. Second shot. Second kill. The enemy force began losing cohesion. Stone's voice crackled through radio, filled with amazement. Ghost, where are those shots coming from? This is Ghost. I'm eliminating the threat. Keep your heads down and be ready to move. The third and fourth shots came within seconds of each other. 2 fighters trying to flank Stone's position, eliminated with rapid target acquisition her father had taught her. The third target was crouched behind a moss-covered boulder, thinking he was invisible. Lindsey's bullet found the 2-inch gap between the rock and a fallen tree branch, dropping him instantly. The fourth fighter was sprinting between trees, zigzagging to avoid detection. She led his movement by exactly 18 inches, her bullet intercepting him mid-stride. Each shot was a masterpiece of precision marksmanship under impossible conditions. Wind gusts were shifting every few seconds, forcing her to recalculate ballistics in real time. The forest canopy created unpredictable air currents that would throw off lesser marksmen. But Lindsey had learned to read these microenvironments during years of hunting in Colorado's volatile mountain weather. By her 5th shot, remaining enemy fighters were panicking. They had been ambushing a trapped SEAL team, but were being systematically destroyed by an invisible predator. The 5th target was their communications specialist, frantically trying to call for reinforcements. Lindsey's shot silenced both him and his radio permanently, cutting off their lifeline to outside support. Stone's team could hear the distinctive crack of her rifle echoing through the forest, each shot followed by the sudden cessation of enemy fire from another position. Jesus Christ, one of the SEALs whispered into his comm. She's picking them apart like they're standing still. Shots 6 and 7 eliminated fighters trying to escape through the forest. The 6th target thought he was clever, belly crawling through thick undergrowth toward what he believed was safety. But Lindsey tracked the subtle movement of fern fronds and grass stems, reading his path like her father had taught her to follow wounded elk. The 7th fighter was running full sprint down a game trail, thinking speed would save him. Lindsey led his movement through a narrow shooting lane between pine trunks, her bullet traveling 623 meters to stop his escape permanently. The 8th, 9th, and 10th shots came as remaining fighters tried to consolidate defensively. The 8th target was a squad leader attempting to reorganize his remaining men into a coherent defensive line. Through her scope, Lindsey watched him gesturing and pointing, clearly issuing orders. She ended his leadership with a shot that traveled through a gap barely wider than her bullet diameter. The 9th and 10th fighters were positioned in mutually supporting positions, each covering the other's blind spots. But Lindsey had found an elevated angle that allowed her to engage both positions within a 3-second window, her rifle cycling smoothly between targets. The psychological effect was devastating. The remaining fighters could hear their comrades dying one by one, but couldn't locate their killer. Every shadow became a potential threat, every sound a harbinger of death. Their discipline was cracking under pressure that few combatants could withstand. The 11th shot eliminated a sniper targeting Stone's medic. Through her scope, Lindsey had spotted a barely visible glint of reflected light from enemy optics positioned in a tall pine tree approximately 400 meters from the SEAL team's position. The enemy sniper was good, well-concealed and patient, waiting for the perfect shot at Stone's medic who was treating a wounded teammate. But Lindsey was better. She spotted his muzzle flash and returned fire before he could engage a second target, her bullet punching through the pine branches that should have deflected it. The 12th and final shot was the most difficult. The last fighter had taken cover behind a fallen log that provided excellent protection from most angles, a massive oak trunk that had been down for years and was now partially buried under forest debris. But Lindsey had positioned herself to exploit the one gap in his defenses, a narrow shooting lane created by the intersection of the fallen log and a standing dead tree. Threading her bullet between two tree trunks through a 6-inch shooting lane required calculations that pushed the limits of what was physically possible. She adjusted for the slight downward angle, compensated for a crosswind that was gusting unpredictably through the forest canopy, and factored in the temperature differential that was affecting her powder burn rate. The shot required her to thread a needle at over 500 meters, placing her bullet in a space barely larger than a coffee mug, while accounting for multiple environmental variables that were changing in real time. The shot was perfect. The threat was eliminated. The forest fell silent except for the ringing echoes of gunfire and the labored breathing of Stone's SEAL team, who had watched in stunned amazement as one woman systematically destroyed an entire enemy force that had them trapped and helpless moments before. 5 minutes after the ambush began, 12 enemy fighters lay dead, and Stone's SEAL team was alive and unharmed. The engagement that should have destroyed an elite American unit had become a demonstration of precision marksmanship that redefined what one sniper could accomplish in combat. "Ghost, this is Stone." His voice carried complete respect mixed with amazement. "I need you to explain what just happened." "Threat eliminated, sir. Area is secure. Recommend we continue with primary mission." During helicopter extraction, Stone sat across from Lindsey with completely different eyes. "Morgan, I owe you an apology. What you did back there, I've never seen anything like it. 12 targets, 5 minutes. Perfect shooting under impossible conditions. You saved every life on my team. Sir, I was just doing my job." "No, you were being the sniper I never realized we had." 6 months later, Lindsey was promoted to Sergeant First Class and offered assignment to the most elite sniper units. Commander Stone became one of her strongest advocates. If you want to understand what a real sniper can accomplish, watch Morgan work. She controls the entire battlefield through precision and patience. Today, Master Sergeant Lindsey Ghost, Morgan runs the military's most advanced sniper training program, teaching techniques that combine Colorado wilderness skills with modern precision technology. Have you ever been underestimated so completely that people couldn't see your true capabilities? Lindsey's story reminds us that the most dangerous assumptions are the ones we make about people based on appearance rather than performance. The SEAL commander who dismissed her as just a pretty face learned that beauty was irrelevant when bullets were flying and lives were on the line. What mattered was precision, patience, and the willingness to take responsibility for outcomes others couldn't achieve. Lindsey Ghost Morgan didn't just eliminate 12 enemies in 5 minutes. She eliminated every assumption about what beautiful women could accomplish in combat. Sometimes our greatest victories come not from meeting expectations, but from exceeding them so completely that the expectations themselves are forced to change. Thanks for watching Quiet Tales Studio. If stories like this inspire you, subscribe to see more incredible tales of courage and determination.